Welcome back to the chapter this time 4, and this chapter 4 will be pretty much an extension of what we've done with chapter 3, but this time what we're going to actually do is to not only organize but also perfect our existing PCG tool that we have created to generate meshes on the landscape here. So in today's lesson what we're going to do is particularly focus on not only adding extra variables to the existing blueprint of which we call BP_mesh generator, but at the same time we are going to combine few extra nodes that will not only improve the quality of spawning the meshes around each other meshes, but they're already existing, but also we're going to include another mesh which is going to be a clover plant, and that clover plant will come from the package that comes from Packt O3 Landscape Pro, and you can easily find it, which is compatible also with 5.4, and when you go to Marketplace you can actually find it here under name as Landscape Pro 2.0 Auto Generated Material. So coming back to our project, what we're actually going to do is to first add a few elements to our mesh generator, so inside the blueprint. So in this case what we're going to do, let's open our blueprint and let's go and navigate down to our variables here. So in this case what we're going to do is to actually add another variable, and this is going to be also a vector, and we are going to call it box extend. And make sure it's public. Also check to turn it to vector, compile this. And next thing what we're going to actually do is go to construction script. And the reason why we're actually going to use construction script so that we can not only modify things that are on the go during the editor mode, but at the same time we have more flexibility to do changes on the go without us being on the play mode. So in this case what we're actually going to do is to go and instantly make those changes while we are operating the BP mesh generator on our scene. So in this case what we're going to do is go and right click and search for set box extend. And what I'm going to do is to plug into our construction script. And what we're going to do is to drag into our graph here. Set to get box extend, plug this in. So let's go and compile this very quick together. I'm also going first to add a few values here. So I'm just going to start off very simple. Instead of keep at 0, I'm going to just sort of extend it to 3000. And the same goes for Y values. And I'm going to keep at 1000 for Z value. The reason why is because our box extend go bigger on the Z-axis, but we can always try to decrease it so it doesn't look too obviously spaced out on all dimensions. So next thing what I'm going to do is, the most exciting part is to start improving into, in this case, our PCG graph. So what I'm going to do, as mentioned before, we are going to use one of the pack assets from the Packt O3 Landscape Pro. And if you go and dive in, and the particular, in this case, foliage we're looking for is under foliage and go to grass, we are actually going to add SM plant group 01. Right click and let's enable it to nanite. And the next thing is to do is go back to our PCG graph that we have created in the previous lesson. Go chapter 3 and let's go PCG generator. The next bit is to detach our static mesh spawner. Let's just move that out of the way. And let's start adding the nodes we need. So in this case, I'm going to do is right click and search for attribute noise. Under the attribute noise, when you go and select it, we need to change few modes. So in this case, we're actually going to use density for the input source. And also let's start adding some of the values here. So for now, let's keep it at 0.2 at the minimum as we can, and want to also clamp the results. And let's go and connect it together. It will convert to our point filter automatically. And next thing what we also want to do is to add density filters node. So in this case, right click. Let's go search for density filter. And let's change this to something minimum 0.3. I'm going to change 0.3 and 1. Let's go connect it all together. And we, of course, will convert it once more as well. So that should be okay. And the next bit is I'm going to also use normal density. And set it to add. And the whole point of doing such a thing is to make sure that the points which are not just going to be spread out and generated, it's also going to sort of be placed in such a manner that it will get more organized depending on how we are going to change the placement of these points throughout the, in this case, landscape, depending on how far and how each static meshes are being spawned based on these points positions. And that's why we also use noise and density, in this case, this distribution, so that once set it up to work with, depending on what noise we are dealing with, in this case, attribute noise is going to then filter out for density that's been given, and then basically normalize it to the right density. So in this case, what I'm going to also do is to also add transform points node. Let's go change few values here. As 80, 180. And let's change a few of that as well for rotations. Now we can go and connect it together. Let me just place it in such a manner so that I can fit all into one. And what I'm gonna do also add another static mesh spawner. So right click and let's search for. Let me add the mesh entries here. And we are going to look for the plant group here. So let me go. And what I'm gonna do is to go and add this on top of it. So it's literally being sort of placed as a separate static mesh spawner, which is gonna be literally coming out of the BP points generators, and it will basically create its own points around the landscape, including these points already existing, which are being filtered in order to fit in other new static meshes that are going to spawn next. And then let's just test that out. So you see they start things spacing out. So let me just go closer to each other. I'm going to literally place them next. Maybe it's a bit too much, so let me just try 1 and 1. All right, so now you start seeing they get really close to each other. I'll place them on so big and massive sizes. So you see it's a massive detail. We don't need that much, of course. Just for fun, I decided to kind of extend it to make it bigger. So now you start seeing they kind of get very close to each other. So you start seeing that all these literally and other section of plants are being added, and that's fine because this is something very functional to have it if you wanted to adjust not only the differences between that it generates between each rocks when you start putting other static meshes, but at the same time it gives you this extra ability to use the same that it's already existing node. In this case, the node at the BP generator, when you connect them, it will basically go through the same process, including this one that is already existing for the rocks here. So that is actually kind of exercise for you to give and go and try it out. So that's why I decided to give you this insight on how you can actually not only also improve the quality of your given, in this case, PCG sort of tool for the building environments, but at the same time, it also gives you the idea on not only that you already have created your PCG blueprint, but at the same time, you can reuse this PCG blueprint with other static meshes that you want to spawn into your landscape. So this was just practically a small exercise to you to understand that. I hope you found it very useful. And appreciate that we took some time on this to digest through another steps on improvement what we already have created from the previous chapter. And the next one we are going to get into more spline controls, and this will be a bit more advanced version of using PCG framework. Thank you so much and see you in the next chapter.